just keep in my mind like a clock. Because they're all my notes in
If you can hear me, sing with me. Sing it again. We're alive. Shana Tova, welcome everyone. Everyone should have a supplement on their pews. If you have one, hold it up. It has two sides. Oh look, we have one in our big pew here. We're on the front side. We're on the second text down. Olam Chesed Yibanu.
Olam Chesed Yibanu.
Yadada. Everyone try it with me. Olam Chesed Yibane. I will build this world.
I will build this world from love. Then you must build this world from
And if we build this world from love, sing it softly. Olam chesed yibaneh. Adonai, Adonai, Adonai. Again. Olam chesed yibaneh. Adonai, Adonai, Adonai. Taste every word. Olam chesed yibaneh. Adonai, Adonai, Adonai. Olam chesed yibaneh. Adonai, Adonai, Adonai.
Shana Tova.
Shana Tova.
Welcome. What a blessing to be gathered here together in person tonight to greet the new year. We will never take this for granted again, will we? What a blessing to look out at your faces, to see some of your faces, to feel this room full of life as we greet 5783. And if you're watching at home, we welcome you fully and completely to this experience with us. We're so glad you're here. And the Machzor link is being put into the chat right now, so you'll be able to follow along with us. Tomorrow we will turn toward the big questions about ourselves and our world that the High Holy Days call us to. But tonight, we simply celebrate. It is a new year. We are alive, and we are together. And we are baderech. We are on our way to this new year and all that it contains. Tonight, we call to mind some of our blessings, some of the things we might otherwise take for granted or not notice. We fill ourselves with the simple joy of all that there is to be grateful for in the year that has passed, even with its challenges, and all that's undiscovered in the year that lies ahead. Let us kindle the lights of this new year all of you are invited to participate in lighting our festival candles up here. We have 50 candles up here. So that means that 50 of you at least should come up and help us bring light into this space and help us bring light into 5783. Please come now.
Lighting, perhaps you'll hum with us.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu shel yom tov. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. Sing it, Sibi, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. One more time.
Now, on Shabbat mornings, we often ask people to make this the friendliest place they've ever been to in Brooklyn. And we're asking you to do that now. Find someone near you, wish them a Shana Tova, and share some blessing from the year that has passed. Something you're grateful for from the year that has passed.
Do we think she's not going to introduce us? We should sit down.
I'm thankful.
Oh, yes, tell me. Go ahead.
I'm thankful for that modulation. The whole year, I'm thankful for that modulation that just happened.
Should we sit? Are you going to talk? Okay.
Okay.
I just need to know if I need my
What's happening?
Yeah, I mean, that's what I'm trying. There's two bands.
So now that you've had a chance to introduce yourselves to each other, I am going to take a moment to introduce our team up here and give you an overview of what's happening over the next 10 days. So tonight, we're here all together. In the morning, and on Kol Nidre and Yom Kippur morning, Rabbi Matt Green and our new rabbinic intern, Evan Trailer, who I look forward to introducing to you very soon, but is unable to be here tonight, and our cantorial intern, Jordan Goldstein, are going to be leading Brooklyn Jews services over at Union Temple House. Yeah. Also, tomorrow morning and Yom Kippur morning, the TOTS Youth and Family Services will be led by Rabbi Molly Kane and Debbie Bruckman and Michelle Citron over at the Old Stonehouse. Rose Snitz, our teen and tefillah director, who's over there, is helping us out this evening, leading with us, adding to the music, along with our wonderful band. Thank you for being here. And this, of course, is Cantor Josh Breitzer and Rabbi Stephanie Colin, and I'm Rabbi Rachel Timoner, and we will be here in this space for the duration, all the way through to Ne'ilah. And everyone else, all those other locations, are going to come back here on Yom Kippur afternoon for the afternoon service and Yizkor and Ne'ilah, and we'll finish like we began, all together, and with the band. A refresher about the Machzor, the prayer book. So each set of facing pages has the same number, That's not like most books. The right page is in Hebrew, the left page is in English, and in some cases the transliteration is there on the left page in red italics. The margins have beautiful insights and poems that are worth taking your time on. And when the transliteration is not in the book, but we are singing it or saying it, there is a supplement that looks like that will have those words for you. Here's what's next tonight. The Baruch Hu is going to lead us into the Shema and its blessings. Our prayer at the coming on of evening, our prayer in gratitude for eternal love, our reminder of the oneness of all that is, leading us to love as we are loved. We rise now.
Adonai Tzivaot Shemo El Chai V'Kayam Tamid Yimloch Aleinu Le'olam Va'ed Baruch Ata Adonai
Baruch Shemo
Ha'ma'ariv Arami
Ahavat olam Beit Yisrael Amcha ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadeta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם המזוזות ביתך ובשעריך. והיה אם שמות תשמע
In a moment, we'll come to Michamocha, the song that our people sang when we crossed the sea of reeds from oppression to freedom. Now, if you begin typing into your favorite search engine the words, "is the sea of reeds," your device will finish your sentence with a list of age-old questions. Is the sea of reeds very deep? Is the sea of reeds wet? Is the Sea of Reeds same as the Red Sea? Is it really red? And then the questions will grow theological. Did the Sea of Reeds really part? How did Moses get across? Was it God or was it science? Were there fish? And these questions are all very, very good because they are exactly what we are supposed to do. Imagine ourselves in that moment as if it were our legs that were carrying us across. This prayer, this song, it asks us to find ourselves there and then, to take a look around and to feel what it felt like. Was the sea floor spongy or hard? Were there dolphins poking their noses through the water? Was it very loud or very quiet? Could they smell the saltwater air? Were they scared? At what point did they realize that they were already singing and already free? Michamocha is a bridge through time, reminding us that for every difficult or stormy sea that we face in every generation and every lifetime, that we have been there before and that we know how to cross, from suffering to surviving, from a broken relationship to a healed one, from injustice to justice thousands of times over, from unrealized dreams to triumphant celebration. We know the way across in our kishkas. We have the courage and the capacity and the community to make it through. And tonight, these words carry us from the shores of yesterday as we cross over into a new year, already singing and on the cusp of freedom. Page 8.
Together, Michamocha ba'enim Adonai, Michamocha nedar b'kodesh, Norat eilot oseh ve'lem avodecha ra'u banecha, bokeh לפני משה ומרים, זה חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, גאל ישראל. Amen. Page supplements. Ashkivenu, Adonai Eloheinu, leshalom, ve'hamidenu, shomreinu lechaim. Pros aleinu, sukat shelomecha, v'tachenenu, ve'etza tova milfanecha, ve'hoshienu leman shemecha, ve'hagen badeinu, ve'haser me'aleinu oyei tevet, ve'cherem ve'ra'av ve'yagon, ve'haser satan milfaneinu, ומאחרינו, ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו, כי אל שומרנו ומצילנו אתה, כי אל מלך חנון ורחום אתה. ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך, ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
On page 10, we come to a special verse for Rosh Hashanah from Psalm 81. Tiku v'chodesh shofar b'keseh leyom chagenu. You'll see that our machzor translates the verse as sound the shofar on our feast day on the new moon when it is hidden. But the truth is that the word keseh, kaf samech he, translated here as hidden, is what's called a hapax legomenon. Psalm 81 is the only place in the entire Hebrew Bible where this word appears. So no one knows what it means. This translation is based on context. There's only one holiday of the year celebrated on a new moon, other than Rosh Chodesh, when the moon is mostly hidden. That's the holiday when we sound the shofar. This is today. But many rabbis, including Rashi and Ibn Ezra, some of the most important Torah commentators, did not read it that way, understanding the word to be related instead to a different keseh, kaf samech aleph, which means at its appointed time. This would render the verse, sound the shofar on our feast day on the new moon at its appointed time. That works. But the moon is mostly hidden tonight. And the fact that we can't see it is a potent symbol for what we are celebrating here. That we're at the threshold of a new beginning, stepping into the unknown, into the year that awaits us. This meaning is augmented by the fact that no living person can tell us what the word means, reminding us of how much is unknown in our world, how much mystery beckons us to look more closely within and without, to get curious. And when the way is obscure and it's hard to see what's ahead, this is the time to trust in the mystery itself. Tikuva Chodesh Shofar will be followed by Chatzi Kaddish and a silent Amidah.
Please rise. תקעו בחודש שופר בכסף ליום חגנו, כי חוק לישראל הוא משפט לאלוהי יעקב, יתגדל ויתקדש שמי רבה, בעלמא יברך חירותך וימליך מלכותך, בחייכון וביומכון ובחיי לכל בית ישראל, בגלה ובזמן קריב ואמרו אמן, יהי שמי רבה מברך לעולם ולעלמי עלמיה יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה, בריחו לילה לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה, תושבחתה ונחמתה, דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן.
on your daf. Achat sha'oti meit Adonai. Achat sha'oti otav akesh. Achat sha'oti meit Adonai. Achat sha'oti otav akesh. Shivti, shivti, beveit Adonai. Shivti, shivti, kol yemei chayai. Shivti, shivti, beveit Adonai. Shivti, shivti, otav yemei lachazot benoam to gaze upon the beauty of Adonai. One thing, I ask you, Adonai, to be with you all of my Achat sha'oti otav akesh.
Shana Tova. Across the world tonight, after millions of Jews have finished their Rosh Hashanah dinners, many of them will break into song. Some might in fact be singing at this exact moment. Now, whether or not we typically do this, we know that the custom is to pray Birkat Hamazon after each meal, at least part of which people sing. And given that it's Rosh Hashanah, those who do will start with an additional insert for Shabbat and holidays. Shir Hamalot Beshuv Adonai et Shivat Zion Hayinu Kechomim. That familiar verse from Psalm 126. When God returns the fortunes of Zion, we see it as if in a dream. This one verse will set the stage for these days of awe, with a text that speaks of our return, our tshuva, as related to our dreaming up something better than we've ever seen before. Hazorim bedima barina yiktzoru, the psalm goes on to say. Those who sow in tears will reap in joy, which may in fact be the greatest dream of all. Most likely these words will go unnoticed as a rote part of the liturgy. But this year I can think of no better wish or intention when so many of us are struggling to dream, or to imagine how the coming year will actually be new or any different from the stresses of the last. I've been thinking lately of the Yiddish phrase, lo merheren gute besoris, which translates roughly to, let's hear something good for a change. And I would guess from your early laughter that some of us can relate to that desire, approaching another year and an election season, bracing ourselves for all kinds of crushing news to compound the agita that we already feel. What are you going to talk about this year, Rabbi? Someone recently asked. You going to talk about climate change or the fragility of reproductive rights? How about the decline of democracy? Or you know what he said? Inflation. Not controversial, it's on everybody's minds. Go with inflation. And I was like, Doctor, I'm just here for a physical. Everywhere we turn, there are so many reminders of what isn't going well. And we often feel at a loss for some new way to approach ongoing problems, aware of what hasn't worked, anxious that things might only get worse. And yet, it's Rosh Hashanah. It's not a time to assume that we know exactly how this year will unfold. It's time to return to dreaming. Beshuv Adonai, the psalmist writes, when we return, we will see it as if we are dreamers. Beshuv Adonai, the language cues us to think of tshuva, return, repentance, what we know we're all here to do this next week and a half. But what about the dreaming? Our returning is only as good as our ability to imagine ourselves as something other than what we've been. Whether that's a better version of ourselves or of our world, new relationships with others or with God. You can't do the work of repairing or repenting without also imagining that a different way is possible. So how do we do that? How do we get back to dreaming? To dream is to flex a muscle that many of us don't get to use all that much. It's something we do only occasionally, as if imagination is somehow separate from real life. We've got so much to do that we allow ourselves to dream only when we are asleep. But there are people who spend each day imagining, awake for it all no less, whose example might help us do the same with some regularity. Namely, artists, creators, people who look at the world and use any medium at their fingertips to dream up the world as it should be, the many worlds to come. Artists are people who create things that live in the world not just as extensions of themselves, but as expressions of themselves, to live beyond them and to advance humanity by presenting a new possibility. And it's somewhere in the artistic process that I want to locate all of us this evening and suggest to you that by being here, or rather being here, and really being here, and going through this service, this can also be a creative act, which hopefully will remind us how to dream. Some of you know that 4 years ago, CBE commissioned a new play with an off-Broadway theater in Manhattan. That play, called The Get, interrogates classical Jewish themes around divorce, and it will be produced this November at Rattlestick Theater. You can mark your calendars now. But you might ask, what's a synagogue doing commissioning a play? You may also know that for the past 5 years, we've sponsored a program called the New Jewish Culture Fellowship, a yearly interdisciplinary cohort of artists who gather to study Jewish texts and create new works of culture for the public. A recent Art Forum article praised NJCF as good news for a Jewish futurity where assimilation and exclusion have no quarter. But again, you might ask, isn't that the role of museums and theaters? Why would we do that with our synagogue? And the answer is that most Jewish institutions schreie Gewalt about the future. Artists are at the vanguard of building it, and we want to be part of that. In my work with the New Jewish Culture Fellowship, I've had the privilege of collaborating with a creative director named Maya Ip, who, as part of an NYU think tank focused on the Jewish future, wrote an article called Kaddish for an Unborn Avant-Garde. Its title alone is a searing critique of how the organized Jewish community has historically not prioritized serious art. And in that piece, she writes, "The desire to awaken is the heart of artistic tradition, and one could argue it's at the heart of religious practice. Making art, like Jewish observance, is premised on the belief that a careful attention to process itself is necessary to imagine and ultimately reach an unknown but desired outcome." In other words, art making is another version of what we're all here to do tonight, and during these 10 days especially, but perhaps also what we're doing when we practice Judaism in general. Reaching into the unknown of ourselves in pursuit of something new and whole and beautiful. Art and culture in communal Jewish life are sometimes seen as accessory to the real work of Jewish living. Something cute, perhaps, or a program to get people in the door. But engaging with art can be constitutive of what it means to be a Jew. And advancing art is essential when we desperately need new ideas and new expressions in a spiritual landscape that often feels antiquated or remote to us. Many of us call ourselves cultural Jews, but we usually describe ourselves this way to convey that we're not that religious. We presume a false dichotomy between culture and religion, when in fact the two go hand in hand. I'll remind you that cult and culture come from the same Latin root, which is to say that they both have something to do with cultivation. You may not have thought that you were here tonight to throw yourself into an artistic process, but perhaps that's exactly what this service is, and indeed what tshuva is. Returning to a lineage, grappling with our present, performing a ritual, and ultimately unlocking a dream. A return through which we can create something better than what we knew before. Tefillah, tshuva, and art all seem to follow this exact same rhythm. As Jews, we inherit an ambivalence around art. Officially, according to the Shulchan Aruch, art is a gateway drug to idol worship. We're prohibited from creating any image of a human being that is complete, the rabbis explain, although busts are okay, somehow, do with that what you will. And even silhouettes on coins make the Talmudic sages uneasy. Because representations of things other than they appear in the world as it is can be dangerous. Only God can create life in the classical imagination. And how dare human beings try to play God by creating a new world of their own? For this reason, Judaism doesn't offer us the robust aesthetic tradition that we might find in, say, ornate Catholic churches or iconography. We are iconoclasts, theologically, and we like to imagine that God alone creates. Ki hine kachomer beyad hayotzer, we'll pray on Yom Kippur, like clay in the hands of the potter, ken anachnu biyadcha chesed notzer. So too are we in your hand, merciful Creator. We are the clay, never the potter, the Machzor says, and yet, did you catch the rhyme in that poetic text? It's there, you can go back and find it later. The poet is teasing those of us who think that art is anathema to Judaism, as the text the Paitan created was itself a form of art. And for that matter, the reason why that metaphor is so potent at this season is that we are potters. The Piyut invites us at the beginning of Yom Kippur to be the craftspeople of our own lives, reflecting on how we might draw out new meaning in the year to come. And if we look closely, the Machzor is filled with artwork of the written word, our most famous obsession as Jews, that begs us to be artists with our lives. When we engage with the prayer book in any manner other than simply looking at it, we can choose to see ourselves the way that artists do, drawing out something new and seeing ourselves differently because of it. Each time we come to these words, even if we don't know what they mean, we're drawing out some new part of ourselves in hopes of being changed. When we pray, and when we perform a ritual of any kind, We give shape to something within us that's otherwise kind of hard to express. Ritual is a conscious assertion of the self. That's something my therapist told me, actually, but we're going to say that again. Ritual is a conscious assertion of the self. And I think what she means is that it's language for parts of our interior lives that we don't otherwise know how to get out. At its best, then, seriously performing a ritual is an artistic practice. What we've already begun doing tonight is a process of making art out of our lives. And like every artwork, it takes a lot of work. You can go to a pottery studio once and make a thing, and with luck, it might look recognizable. But only by practicing day after day might you acquire the skills to fashion something that looks like what your insides are demanding you to let out. And so too, by fully and routinely engaging with the book that's still in many of your hands, meditating on the shapes of the letters perhaps, or delighting in the sounds of foreign words, all the more so seeing something new in the translation, you can begin to express something deep within you that was somewhere beyond your typical comprehension. You begin to start dreaming. Almost exactly a century ago, in 1923, Martin Buber reflected on the practices of Jews in Germany, which, frankly, weren't so different from our own. He observed that one-time radical reforms had become orthodoxies, and that regardless of how they define themselves denominationally, many Jews struggled to tap into something real in their synagogue experience. But in his mind, no matter the movement, going through the motions of Jewish observance was not enough. He wrote, "Religiosity is a person's longing to establish a living communion with the unconditioned, his will to realize the unconditioned through his action, transposing it into the world of humans." Buber argues that the point of spirituality is not just to get through a service and check a mitzvah off your list, but to use this prayer book and these funky rituals of the holidays to find some unconditioned, unrefined, uninterrogated part of ourselves and to release it in a way that changes us and changes our world. This is the heart of ritual, as it is of art making. It feels kind of odd, I must admit, to be telling a room filled with New York Jews that they should care more about the arts. It seems sort of obvious. But what I'm asking here is that we redefine for ourselves how art operates in our lives, both as Jews and as human beings. To celebrate art in hopes of thinking differently when we feel stuck. To realize that culture emerges wherever we cultivate ourselves, even in our recitation of old prayers, if we allow ourselves to see it as such. And if the idea of approaching God feels too scary or somehow alien to you during these holidays, perhaps the framing of tshuva, or prayer, as an artistic process is a way for you to let yourself into these holidays anew. A Hasidic sage known as the Sfat Emet taught that the new year is called Rosh Hashanah, head of the year, because it's the moment when life appears in the world as if it were an idea, but it has not yet differentiated its form. There is energy under the rule of time and nature, he says, but on Rosh Hashanah, that energy does not yet have material shape. It exists for a moment fully in our heads, and it's our work over the course of the year to craft it, to form the year from the raw materials that God gives us, to be artists, following our yearnings and dreams. It's for this reason, among others, that our CBE clergy team understands culture as a pillar of Judaism, alongside ritual and justice. It's a devotion to all three that pushes us to co-create with you a thriving 21st century synagogue in this space, and soon enough, in what we go on to create in our Union Temple House. These three things, culture, ritual, and justice, feed into one another, and in some respects, can't exist without each other, in large part because all three of them flow from dreams, in turn allowing further dreams to develop. Whether in our Jewish lives or in our personal or political lives, we deserve the chance to dream new ways to shape our energy. And if we feel that there are only a few ways forward, facing big national crises or approaching impasses in our relationships, we can return to this familiar text, this technology of dreams, and seeing ourselves as artists, we can give in to wherever the ritual takes us, especially on Rosh Hashanah. Chances are that only a handful of us will actually say Birkat Hamazon tonight after our meals. That's okay, no judgment. Some of us already probably finished eating anyway. But it is likely that you will practice or perform other rituals between now and the end of Yom Kippur during these 10 days of tshuva. May these rituals help us release something deep and unexpected. May it be a generative, artistic process of returning. And above all, may it be a return to dreaming. Shana Tova.
Of your supplement. Tim, I think we're really loud. I think we're going to turn everything way down because we need room to grow. You may not know it, but sound design is an art form too. So we're going to start soft and then we're going to grow because we've returned. We return. Sing it again.
We return, we return, we return, we return, we return, return again and again. To love, to love.
page 23. May it be your will, Adonai, our God and God of our ancestors, that the year 5783 be one of balanced and mindful growth for us as individuals, for our families and our communities. May we return next year in good health and in appreciation of a year of greater peace, a year in which we deepened our lives through learning and the performance of mitzvot, a year in which we were conscious of the divine presence, a year in which we strengthened our shared commitment to tikkun olam, the betterment of the world.
Page 24. I love you, CP. I'm going to ask you to rise again. That too was an art form. The idea was that we'd be standing so that together we could sanctify this moment. We could make this moment holy with Kiddush by rising together, page 24. Could I have a G, please? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol am veromemanu mikol lashon vekideshanu b'mitzvotav v'atiten lanu Adonai Eloheinu be'ahava et yom hazikaron hazeh Yom Teruah Mikra Kodesh Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim Kivanu Vanu Vacharta Veotanu Kidashta Mikol Hamim Udevarecha Emet Vekayam La'ad Baruch atah Adonai Melech al kol haaretz Mekadesh Yisrael Melech al kol haaretz Mekadesh Yisrael Melech al kol haaretz Mekadesh Mekadesh Yisrael v'yom hazikaron. Shechianu, we're going to sing it again. Everyone. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higyanu lazman hazeh. Amen.
Shkoyach.
Aleinu. Aleinu. Right? Aleinu l'shabeach. Page 25. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסר הארץ, מושב יקרוב השמיים עמה, ושתילת תוזות בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו עליון, ומפקנו אפס זולתו, כך כתוב בתורתו, וידעת
You may be seated now. It's my pleasure to invite forward for some greetings and announcements our president, John Horowitz.
Shana Tova. I want to thank, as always, by thanking our clergy team, particularly Rabbi Green, for that moving sermon. Thank you, Rabbi Green. I want to thank our team, as well as our team director, Roshnitz. I want to thank the Jazz Quintet, featuring our CBE member Sam Barfield on violin, Michael Winograd, I hope I pronounced that correctly, on clarinet, Sean Moran on electric guitar, Aidan O'Donnell on bass, and Paul Francis on drums. We're as grateful as always to the AV production team from Advanced Concept. I also want to thank our member, Dave Overkamp, for the lighting design. And as always, I want to thank all our incredible CB staff for helping make our High Holy Day worship look and sound so wonderful. Rosh Hashanah services begin tomorrow morning at 9:30 here in the sanctuary. 10 a.m. for Brooklyn Jews at the Union Temple House, 9 a.m. for the Tot service, 10 a.m. for the K2 service, and 11 a.m. for the 3rd and 6th through 6th grade service, all at the Old Stone House. Please don't miss tomorrow our all-community shofar sounding and Hakafah parade at 1 o'clock. It's going to be right outside the sanctuary. The streets will be closed to traffic, and we'll hear the shofar from the roofs and the sanctuary steps. Please come ready to greet one another for the new year. At 5 o'clock tomorrow, we're going to meet at the 9th Street entrance to Prospect Park for our annual walk to the lake for Tashlik, which is a casting of our sins upon the waters. As we now say every year, please, no breadcrumbs. It's not good for the ducks. You can toss leaves and twigs at the water edge instead. Second day Rosh Hashanah services start at 9:30 in the sanctuary, and youth and family services for grades K through 6 start at 10 a.m. in the CB ballroom. There will be adult study sessions from noon to 1 in the rotunda downstairs. Shofar across Brooklyn is at 5 o'clock at Grand Armory Plaza. Mark your calendar now for the return of our Sukkot block party, which is Saturday, October 15th at noon. If you've ever wanted to become more involved at CBE but don't know how, this is your chance to meet leaders from every group, class, committee, small group, and more. It was an amazing time last year, so I encourage you all to come to, don't miss the outdoor fun fest filled, alliterative, Matt Green, a little art there, with music, food, and activity for kids of all ages. And later that day at 2:30, join us for an exciting gathering on climate change and what we can do together to make a difference. On behalf of the Board of Trustees of CBE, I wish you and your families a Shana Tova.
Whenever we're together in prayer, creating and co-creating new imaginations of what's possible, we conclude our time by calling near, drawing near, the memories we have of people we love who are no longer with us, but whose memories help us in that artistic process of imagining who we want to become and how we want our world to be. If you are remembering someone who you lost in the year of 5782, if this is Shana for you, if you're in the first year of mourning or in any period of mourning or in a yard site, I invite you to rise and tell us who you're remembering. You can remain standing. We're all going to join you. We all rise in company with the mourners in our midst. And these words, some of my favorites from Laura Gilpin, bring us into the Mourner's Kaddish. These things I know, how the living go on living, and how the dead go on living with them, so that in a forest, even a dead tree casts a shadow, and the leaves fall one by one, and the branches break in the wind, and the bark peels off slowly, and the trunk cracks, and the rain seeps in through the cracks, and the trunk falls to the ground, and the moss covers it. And in the spring, the rabbits find it and build their nest inside the dead tree, so that nothing is wasted in nature or in love. The Mourner's Kaddish is on page 26. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Be'alma divra chirute v'yamlich machute. B'chayechon v'yomechon uv'chaye decho beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uv'izman kariv imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach le'alam u'lalmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shmei t'kudesha brichu. Le'ela le'ela mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Da'amiran be'alma v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shlama Rabbah min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Oseh shalom b'mroav. Huya aseh shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who makes peace make peace for all who mourn. We say together, Amen.
Page 27 and on your supplement. El Adonai, Chazak ve'yametz libecha, v'kavel Adonai, v'kavel Chazak ve'yametz libecha, v'kavel Adonai, v'kavel Adonai, v'kavel
In a moment, we will conclude our service with Adon Olam, but I want to just tell you that as soon as that ends, or right before it ends, your clergy team, we are going to make our way outside so we can greet you out there. So come out when the song is over to let's exchange a Shana Tova, a little New Year's greetings, and we wish you all a Shana Tova as we turn to the words of Adon Olam.
Page 175.
We're going to want you in this with us.
Did you say you're going to want to be in it with us?
Yeah, I was saying I want
Okay,
them.
that was Rabbi Green's cue to come back.
That's right. Exactly. But all of you, I want you all in this with us. Here goes.
Adon Olam, Hashem Allah,
B'Tzelem Kol Yetzir Nivra, Ve'en Atzah, Ve'chefzo Kol, Azai Melech Shemo Nikra. בידו. הפקיד רוחי בית אישה והעירה ועם רוחי